Welcome to the Gods of Odds. Oh my gosh, it is week number 18 of your National Football League season. That is Brad Hoysef over there in beautiful Southern California. I'm Dave DeBob in Northern California. It is good to see you, Brad. I know you were on potentially going on the injured reserve list this week, but you found a way to put on your Dylan hat and show up for the broadcast.
Well, 24 hours ago, I'd have been listed as doubtful, Dave. But now I'm questionable.
Yeah,
clearly on a play count, snap count, come Sunday, and so still not dressed for practice yet, though. Right?
I hear ya. I hear ya.
Non-participant. Let's just
non-participant. You will at the very least be at the stadium when the team goes out and plays.
I am clearly a game time decision.
All right, so week 18 of Gods of Odds. I think Brad. Last time I checked, I'm up by like 5 or 6 games this year. You have won the last couple of years. You have a 3-1 lead in the series. This is season 5. So barring any major incidents between now and Sunday night, I should be able to hold you off. But who knows? Mr. Hoysef, I will pass it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, if I was the Kansas City Chiefs, I would just rest everybody, Dave. Okay? But I'm not wired that way. I play to win, and so I've picked a flurry of games here that I know there's no way in hell Dave Dabo will take the team I took, okay? I just know you too well, and so it's just basically a last gasp. It's like trying to buy a lotto ticket and guaranteeing a win. It's probably not going to happen, but nonetheless, I'm going to have to disagree with you, obviously, on all of your picks, and hope that you've got some, cojones to go the other way on my picks. So at least we have something to play for here in the final week of the season. A competitive Dave Dabo, I think, will do the rest of the work for me.
Okay, I promise I will try to do my best.
All right. Well, let's jump into the games here real quickly. My first game is the Washington Commanders, the Bucs, the DC Cicadas are playing at Dallas, the Cowboys. And I know you're a Cowboys guy. And a lot of these games have it's really a timing thing on the final weekend because there's so many guys not playing and that kind of thing. But Washington, I don't know that they have a ton to play for. I know the Cowboys have nothing to play for other than pride, and that's a prideful bunch, Dave. So I'm going to take the Cicadas, and I'm going to give the 4.5. And I'm going to hope, knowing that, didn't you pick the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl like 3 years in a row? I'm hoping that you're still on that train, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, definitely, I didn't pick them this year at the start of the season, though I thought they'd have a significantly better year. I suspected that Jaden Daniels would have a really good rookie year, so at least I got that right. While I think I'm going to disagree with you on a lot of games, this particular game, after watching the Cowboys' performance against the Eagles, I'm hard pressed to go with the Cowboys in this one, and it's Washington still, I guess, technically sort of playing for a seed, or seed positioning at this point. So it is an interesting game from that perspective. I would love to see the Cowboys actually show up in this game and send Mike McCarthy out on a positive note if that actually does happen. I don't think I'm trying to talk myself into taking the Cowboys for you, Brad. I don't think that the Cowboys are going to phone this in. So I guess while I was going to take the Commanders in this one, I will help you out, and I'll go ahead and take the Cowboys.
Oh my goodness, a gift right off the bat. Right off the bat, I'm up 1-0, I think. But I appreciate that, Mr. Dava. I think that now makes like 8 or 9 games that we're going to disagree on.
There you go.
My other
you
option was, if you took the Commanders, was switching and taking the Cowboys.
Right.
But, you know.
Right. I should have taken the Cowboys at the beginning. Anyways, my first game is a game that actually does have playoff implications. It is my boy Baker at home against the horrible New Orleans Saints. In this particular one, I'm going to go ahead and play the over-under. The over-under is 43.5 points. I like the Bucs and the Saints to find a way to actually score more than 43.5 points in this game, Brad. So I'm taking the Bucs and the points, I should say.
I'm a little surprised that we both selected this game for different things, because I took the game as with the point spread as well.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I missed that.
To me, this is an easy under because two things at stake here. First of all, the Saints are horrendous. The Buccaneers have to win to make the playoffs, right? Otherwise, they have to hope the Falcons lose. So I think they'll play for keeps, which is good for your over. But the Saints are woefully inadequate right now. They got a lot of guys not going to play. And then there's also the Todd Bowles factor, which, he's capable of screwing anything up. So I'm going to take the under, Dave, just to spite you and try to go the other direction.
Yeah, I guess, it is possible that the Buccaneers will win 35-0 in this game, and you'll look like an absolute genius for going with the under. But the Buccaneers defense has certainly given up its fair share of points, especially in the first half of games. So as inept as the Saints currently are, I like the over a lot in this one.
All right, my second game is the Seahawks at the Rams. And the Seahawks are 6-point favorites, which I find to be a really interesting line, Dave. I mean, they claim that that McVay is talking about sitting his guys and not playing them. But as of right now, he's in a 3-seat situation where he would play, Washington. And if he was to drop into the 4 seed with a loss, that means he's either going to play the Vikings or the Lions. And I think that's a really, really bad deal for him. So I think it's all a hoax. I think McVay is going to play his guys. He's going to play to win. And I think that 6-point line as a result is ridiculous. So I'm going to take the Rams. I'm going to, wait now, the Rams are 6-point favorites? No, the Seahawks are 6-point favorites. So I'm the Rams. I'm going to take the Rams and the 6 points.
Yeah, when you get into this last week of the season, these lines are wacky. Hard to actually figure out, especially when you have teams in the playoffs, teams not in the playoffs, teams sitting their starters, and other teams not doing that. And in this particular case, I saw this news a little bit earlier in the day. I seriously doubt you will change your mind on this, but you should. Jimmy G is going to start for the Rams, and it's not a hoax, Brad. There isn't somebody, in the bush shooting a gun off. It is clearly going to be a Seahawks victory. They're going to go off on a good note to end the season. It will have been a good year for the rookie head coach, and I think at the end of the day, the Seahawks team is sort of ahead of schedule, where they probably thought they would be with a rookie head coach this season.
Dave, don't the Buccaneers have tiebreakers with the Rams? Am I missing something?
Well, the Buccaneers issues with the Falcons.
But I thought they had tiebreaker with the Rams, which means if they end up at the same record, they're going to swap positions. And the Rams are no longer going to be taking on Washington. They're going to be taking on the Vikings or the Lions. That to me seems like
Yeah.
a very risky play. I understand you want your guys to get fresh and everything, but if they're getting fresh for a beatdown, it doesn't seem to make much difference.
Yeah, I mean that's a really good point. Maybe the Rams know something about the New
The
Orleans
Buccaneers are
Saints
going to
that we
win,
don't.
correct? The Buccaneers are going to win that game, correct?
Yes, yes.
I mean, of course, they're not going to win by as many points, 13 and a half, but they're going to win that game. And that's going to put them in the 3 seed. And then they get to play the Commanders versus having to play the Vikings or the Lions loser. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know, but McVay clearly has his reasons. I agree. It doesn't make a ton of sense unless, Stafford is secretly injured anyways. So if we're playing the conspiracy series card at all. All right. Next game, Bengals. I love Joe Burrow at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bengals on the road, favored by 1.5 points. I love Mike Tomlin, as you know, Brad. I love what they've done with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but the best way of describing the Steelers at this point is leaking oil. They are absolutely leaking oil. They're sputtering down the freeway right now, hoping they can get to the exit and make it to a repair shop / gas station to see what the problem is. I like the Bengals a lot in this. It's not a huge number to give up, so I'm taking the Bengals on the road.
Yeah, I don't know, Dave. I'm finding the same scenario. I know I had to go opposite of you, right? In order to have any puncher's chance, as they would say. But this one wasn't that hard for me. I'm going to take the Steelers playing at home. Tomlin is a guy that believes in getting things right at the right time. And, the Bengals has been a nice little story. I mean, Joe Burrow is, in my opinion, should be the league MVP. I just think the guy's had an outrageous year, despite the fact that he gets hit almost as much as Sam Darnold does, right?
Yeah.
And his numbers are off the charts. And it's been a nice little story. Their comeback, they're now 8-8 and whatever, and they got a shot at the playoffs. But I think it all ends just because they don't play any defense. And I think Russell Wilson finds a way to get the win at home, by the way. And the Steelers got to win, right? If they win, it improves their seed. So I think they will win at home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably one of the most
right now, Pittsburgh, it's the same scenario, Dave. Right now, Pittsburgh plays Houston. Why would you want to lay down and have to play either the Ravens or the Buffalo Bills?
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
So maybe that's the difference between Mike Tomlin and Sean McVay there. Maybe Sean McVay's like, I just want to go straight for the dragon. So yeah, look, great comeback for the Bengals. They've start off slow every year. I'm not surprised, but it was just horrifically bad this year. So good to see them actually work their way back. I'm a big fan of the Steelers. The reality is, the Steelers offense is sputtering. And I'm not sure they're going to be able to keep up with what the Bengals are actually going to put up on the scoreboard in this game. Of course, we know it's not easy to play in Pittsburgh. But I feel as if the Bengals have a little bit more to play for here than the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are at least already in the dance.
I don't know, Dave. I'd certainly rather play Houston than have to play the Ravens or the Bills. And another side note on that Buccaneers/Rams, the 4th seed. Not only are you going to get the Vikings-Lions loser, but then you're going to get the winner the next week, right? So I don't understand McVay's logic at all. Anyways, let me let me go to my. I'm going to have you changing your mind pretty soon, Dave.
The toughest version of the yellow brick road to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, my next game is the Chargers at the Raiders, and the Chargers are 5.5-point favorites on the road in Vegas, and it's still, I think, one of those to be determined things as to whether or not this means anything to the Chargers, because they're not locked into the 6th, and you would think that they would want to get the 5th if they possibly could, and if what you're saying is true and Pittsburgh loses, then the Chargers, they're going to play to win because they're going to play Houston. They have to play Houston then in the next round of the playoffs, right? I mean, there's a lot of incentive. You don't want to have to play Baltimore, and you don't want to have to play Buffalo, I don't think. To me, those top 3 with Kansas City, Buffalo, and Baltimore, that's no picnic. But I would much rather play Houston. So, but having said that, I've got to make up some ground on you, Dave. And so I'm hoping that you go the other way and take the Chargers, because I think the Chargers have incentive to win. But I'm going to take the Raiders, and I'm going to take the 5.5.
Yeah,
I've just told you my formula right there.
I couldn't do it for you here. I'm going with the Raiders as well. I should have taken the Raiders last week. I was kicking myself the whole week.
Well, just when you think you got it with the Raiders.
Yeah, just when you think you got it. So I'm going to stick with the Raiders. Look, I think they're going to be making another coaching change here at the end of the season. So that work, it is amazing, Brad, what a good coach can do for a National Football League franchise. It is amazing. I know you're hit or miss a bit with Dan Campbell, but I mean, look at the Detroit Lions right now. It's insane, right? So good coaching matters. Like, if they decide to stick with Antonio Pierce, and it will just, continue to be the ongoing. It's not even a downfall anymore of the Raiders. I mean, they're at the bottom already. They can't even fall any further.
And that's the team you're taking.
And that is the team I'm taking.
All right. There's a reason I'm up 3 seasons to 1, Dave.
Yeah, that's true.
Fall into the pitfalls.
Hey, speaking of hard to believe football, the Giants actually got themselves a win last week. Brad, how the hell did that happen? Giants at the Eagles. Eagles, I don't know, favored by 3.5. Little bit of controversy in Philadelphia this week, but hell, there's controversy every week in Philadelphia when Nick Sirianni is your head coach. Apparently, Lane Johnson came out and said he didn't want to play this week. A couple of the other offensive linemen sort of indicated they were willing to play. Saquon Barkley had certainly indicated that he wanted to play. And then Sirianni made the decision that none of them were going to play this week at home. Now, I seriously doubt it was Nick's decision. I've got to believe that came down from above him, and he's just relaying the message. But I've got to believe the Eagles. It's a prideful game when the Giants and the Eagles get together, regardless of who's playing. Plus, I think the second or third string Eagles are actually better than the first string Giants. So I'm happy to give up the points, and I'm taking the Eagles at home.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I think the second string quarterback might not play for the Eagles, Dave, which means you're looking at Tanner McKee as your quarterback. And I'm a firm believer right now that the Eagles are the best team in the NFC. I don't think anybody beats them in the playoffs. I think they're good on both sides of the ball. Their offensive line is the one offensive line that can compete with Detroit's offensive line. The difference being the Eagles play defense, right?
Yeah.
And Eagles and defense travels, and they're not going to have all their guys. They're going to have to play some of them. You only got a 53-man roster or whatever, so some guys are going to have to play. But I think the decision to sit guys is probably the right decision because they don't have the luxury of getting the 1 seed. They're going to be the 2 regardless. And so they're going to have to play. And so you want your guys to be fresh and ready to roll. And I think it's the smart move. Having said that, that makes it a very interesting line because the Eagles are still favored by 3.5. I kind of wonder what this line would be if it meant something. Probably 11 and a half, maybe 12. I don't know, something like that. And so I'm actually gonna go the other way here. I'm gonna take the Giants. Like I said, I'm in a no-win situation here. I gotta go opposite regardless. I say the Giants keep that win streak going for the great Brian Daboll.
So I don't know if you know this, Brad, but Tanner McKee was actually born in your backyard. Born in Irvine, California, played his high school ball in Corona. That being said, that ends the trail of knowledge of Tanner McKee for me. I've seen him play a little bit here and there. I think he's, a good enough player. I understand why you're going with the Giants. But I believe in Tanner McKee. I'm taking the Eagles.
Oh, now that's a new one there. I believe in Tanner McKee.
Yeah, it took me years to say that about Sam Darnold.
That's funny. All right, my next game is the Saints at the Bucs. We've already covered this game a little bit, probably a little too much, but the Buccaneers are 13.5-point favorites. The only reason I'm taking the Saints is because I know there's no chance you're going to go against the Buccaneers. I know your thing for the Bucs. I know you love them, so I have nothing quality to say about the Aints other than please keep it within 2 touchdowns. How's that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 21-point lead at halftime, and that's probably your best shot for actually winning this if they are able to rest Baker and the starters on that team. Love them. Mike Evans is going for 1,000 yards this week. Buccaneers should win this one easily. They should easily be up by 21 at halftime. I don't think there's anything else to say about this dead horse.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike, I think Evans could outscore the Saints by himself, really. I mean, That's the truth of it, but that's one of those, I'm just throwing some clover leaves out there and hoping for the best.
All right. Next up, we've got the Kansas City Chiefs on the road against the Denver Broncos, who have to win or need to win to secure that final playoff spot. So I look at this, and as much as I would personally bask in the glory of Sean Payton missing the playoffs again, how great would that be, Brad? If Sean Payton were to miss the playoff, I mean, God, the offseason would be just absolutely horrible for Bo Nix and the rest of that organization. So I think the Chiefs are going to show up with their backups. Obviously, none of their starters are going to play in this. They have no reason to play anybody of any significance. I like the Chiefs to do enough damage at least to put up a couple points. And certainly I think the Broncos, as much as I want them to potentially lose, are actually going to win the game. I like the over. It's 40. Kansas City's still going to find a way to score at least 14 points in this game. And I'm sure Bo Nix will put up some nice numbers. Sean Payton's not going to lose this game, Brad. So I like the over a lot, primarily because of that.
Having to throw so much chum in the water this week, this is the second one where I think I would have gone opposite of you anyways. I like the under in this game. I'm not just taking it because I have to, like the having to take the Giants, right? But I actually like the under in this one. I don't think the Chiefs' offense is very good, even with Pat Mahomes. I really don't. And the Broncos, I mean, if there's anything that can play on that Chiefs, it's that defense. They're really, really good. And so it's at Denver. I think the Broncos will win the game. If they don't win this one, Dave, that's a humiliating loss. I mean, everything's on the line. They haven't been to the playoffs in quite a few years, and now you're getting a team that basically is laying down. You have to win the game. So I say the Chiefs will lay down with no humility whatsoever, and I'm going to take the under at 40.
I think Andy Reid sort of looks at like this as probably his biggest challenge of the year. He's probably like, I just want to prove that I can do it with these other people.
I think Andy Reid's taking the day off too, Dave. So,
Yeah.
all right, I'm going to go to my final one. And it was another one too, where I just knew that you were there was a lot of these games this week where if I had to make something opposite of you, it was an easy selection for me.
Yeah.
I thought this was it. The Vikes at the Lions, but I'm not playing the line. I'm playing the over under at 57, which is an outrageous line, right? But I think we've seen that the Lions are capable of scoring at any point. I think they're a better football team without Montgomery on the field. I think Gibbs. I think I sent you a text this week that if Gibbs was the every down back on that team, I think he'd be the MVP in the NFL this year.
Yeah.
I just think he's that good. They also have Jamison Williams is really starting to play, and they're using him in great stuff, doing great stuff with him. I do think the Vikings defense, they're capable of making some plays. I think they might create some turnovers, but I think they're also going to have some big plays. But I think they'll make just enough of a dent. And the offense for Minnesota, I think, has to go out there and try to control the tempo of the game. You can't expect to get in a shooting match with the Lions and win. I don't think that's going to happen. The Vikings are going to have to go out there, make this a 17-10 game at halftime, and just let the defense go out there and make plays. It's the only way they keep it under. I'm going to go with the under at 57.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Lions to score a lot of points in this game. And yeah, I like the Vikings to, do the same. This is a really tough one from a over under perspective. I know I was disappointed you went with the over under. Like I was like, damn that, holy Sav. But
I'm playing the game, Dave. I play to win. I'm here. I'm not like Andy Reid. I'm playing this thing out.
I like the over in this, but in all seriousness, who do you? We're not picking this officially, but who do you have winning the game?
I don't know, Dave. It's tough. I mean, I know growing up a Vikings fan, we both want to take the Vikings, right? And it's been a sensational story. I do not like that Lions defense at all. I really don't. I think it's a bad defense right now. And I think if the Vikings play it smart, they can win this football game. But they're going to have to make some plays on defense. I think if there is a defense that can get to Goff, it's the Vikings. I really do. And so I think it's a flip of the coin. I really do. I don't think the Lions are playing their best football right now. I don't like risk takers this time of year, Dave. You watch the college games this week?
Yeah.
Both those Final Four games, what happened? The kids that took risks, they ended up getting beat on New Year's Day, right? And so take the 3, Vikings. If you get a shot at 3 and to put points on the board, don't be one of these teams that's constantly thinking you have to go for it on 4th down. I'm seeing teams that are getting humiliated doing that, Dave. I hope Dan Campbell tries to do it because I think if he does too much risk taking, I think the Vikings will win this game.
Yeah, well, what about the flea flickers in the red zone that that Kevin O'Connell likes to call? I suspect that, and I'll just come out and say it. I suspect that the Lions are actually going to win this game. I think it's going to be a fairly high scoring game. So I certainly will be rooting for the Vikes in this. Maybe it's a bit of a reverse psychology on my part, but I just like I mean, I would love nothing more than to see the Vikings actually win this game. But it doesn't matter who they put out on defense at this point for the Detroit Lions. This is going to come down to, can we stop Jared Goff? And that's really what it ultimately comes down to. All right.
Yeah, no, I mean the Lions have got, I think, the best offensive line in football.
Yeah.
I think the Eagles are right there with them. I don't think the Vikings have a very good offensive line, but Sam Darnold has done a pretty good job at, finding, he's got a pretty good internal clock, right? He knows when the rush is coming. He made a great play to win that game. What was it, last week or the week before, when he hit Jefferson in stride? And the guy's just making a lot of plays. I think if the Vikings lose the game, I don't think it will be because of Sam Darnold. I think it'll be because I think the defense has been razor thin in talent all season long. They've played way above their heads. The Vikings have played a soft schedule the entire second half of the season. Yeah, I mean, they had down the stretch, they had to play the Seahawks, and who were fighting for a playoff spot, and they had to play the Packers last week, that kind of thing. But the Lions are a little bit different animal than those two teams. I would have to give a little bit of an edge to Detroit right now. Yeah. But I think the game, with that Vikings defense and as opportunistic as they are, the game has an opportunity to go the other direction.
Yeah. I mean, this Viking team hasn't really blown out a ton of people this year. Definitely better than they were 2 years ago when they had 13 wins in that season. And we all knew they weren't as good as their record. And I suspect there's some of that with this team as well. But I do think that Kevin O'Connell and Sam Darnold have found their stride together. So it should be it should be an interesting game.
Yeah, the other thing too that people need to know out there is that Dave and I are both Vikings fans. So we basically have PTSD for the last 50 years of watching disappointments. And so we're kind of expecting the worst to happen.
Yeah.
Right? But this team has done the unexpected all year, Dave. I mean, that's the other way to look at it. I've been expecting them to collapse for 9 straight weeks, and they haven't. So.
They haven't, and you have to give it to the coaching staff. And last week they were certainly on the verge of a complete collapse. And that's sort of what I'm saying is, like, they haven't put teams away. And that's why I think ultimately Detroit's still going to be in this in the fourth quarter, and it's going to be a close game. All right, last game is the Bears at the Packers. I mean, I had to pick a last game. Packers actually favored by 9. I suspect the Packers are going to win this. No chance the Bears suddenly show up this week, Brad.
I'm going to take the Bears. I have to. 9 is a big number. I haven't seen really anything in the Packers that makes me believe this is a great football team. I just haven't. And so I think 9's a lot. At the end of the day, it's still a big rivalry game. And, there's some guys there in the Bears that they need to show up and play some football this weekend. There's contracts on the line. Do we want to keep you? Do we not? So I think that's the threat and the message. My big fear with the Bears is that they got a coach that's, dead man walking, right? It's the first team I've ever seen, Dave, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, where you could right now just fire the second coach, fire the different guy, just move to the third guy, right? I mean, I don't think we've ever seen that before, but if there was ever a case that it should have happened, it might have been the Bears this year. So anyways, I'm going to take the Bears in the 9 and just, cross my fingers the entire game.
All right, there you go. It is our top 10 games for week and number 18 of your National Football League season. Brad, one last quick question before we get out of here. The new Chicago Bears head coach, is it Cliff Kingsbury? Is it offensive coordinator Ben Johnson? Is it Brian Flores on the defensive side of the ball. What are the Bears? What kind of mistake are the Bears going to make?
Well, I mean, if I was the Bears, I'd hire Ben Johnson, number one. And if he's not available, I'd consider Pete Carroll.
Love that.
So, I mean, those are a couple names out there. I think there's going to be some good options out there. You know, the question is, are they going to get a management team that's willing to spend some money, get some guys, and make smart draft picks? That's the big question. That's always been the big problem with the Bears.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think they're going to go the Ben Johnson route this time around, which will be the at least on paper the right move. I think
he seems like the best. He seems like the best guy out there to me.
Yeah. And I heard Mike Vrabel is interviewing for the New York Jets gig today, which, of course, leave it to the Jets to go with another defensive coordinator as a head coach.
Weren't they talking Rex Ryan earlier in the week, Dave?
They were, but that was a lot of Rex talking it into reality. I'm not sure that's really gonna happen, but it would be fun to see Rex Ryan on Mike Vrabel's coaching staff. I think that would be entertaining. All right. I think it would be better if Vrabel ended up in New England. All right. We got to get out of here. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to the Gods of Odds. That is Brad Hoysef over there in beautiful Southern California, Bob Dylan supporter.
Go out and see the movie. Go out and see the movie, folks. It's a great movie, A Complete Unknown.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Wicked yet, you should definitely see that.
We're going to see Wicked in our picks this week, Dave.
Yeah, there's going to be some wickedness that happens. I did get a Yellow Brick Road reference in. All right. So once again, Brad Hoysef over in beautiful Southern California. I'm Dave DeBoff up in Northern California. Wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
This is Phoenix.